4 political detainees expected to testify in the last day of the hearings into the death of struggle stalwart Imam Abdullah Haron. Haron died in police detention back in 1969. The apartheid security police claiming he died after falling down a flight of stairs. But fresh evidence to the contrary has proved that the Imam endured months of blunt forced torture. And our reporter Natalie Malgas is covering this inquest for us, and she joins us from the Western Cape High Court. Natalie, good morning to you. The testimonies of people like Jeremy Cronin, that would have been very interesting to listen to. But now that this is the final day of this court hearing, what can we expect?
That was indeed very interesting to listen to, Xoli. In fact, we will also be listening to other political detainees during the course of today who will be relaying and recounting their experiences with the apartheid system while in police, and the experiences with particularly the security branch of police officers who had dealings with many of these political prisoners. We heard yesterday from Robert Wilcox, another former political detainee, about the heavy-handedness and the kind of treatment that he had, which was quite harrowing, really, when you're listening to these elders recount very traumatic moments in their lives. We also heard from the last remaining apartheid-era police officer who was tasked with, among other things, handling the Imam, who sketched a picture of initially this active and jovial character when he first met the Imam at the beginning of their 2-week relationship, and towards the end of the Imam's life, he noticed that the Imam was slower and sluggish and less interactive. They often spoke of pleasantries and chatted about each other's families and a little bit of sport, particularly rugby. But towards the end, the Imam, who was obviously at that point in a significant amount of pain, was moving a lot slower, was less interactive. What we heard from Johannes Burger was that he simply didn't know the torture that the Imam was enduring. There was about a 3-day stint when the Imam was actually removed from the Maitland police station and taken to a secret location. And we can only assume the kind of interaction he had with the special branch at the secret location, under the kind of in the shadows almost, what he was enduring at that time. When he returned after those 3 unaccounted for days, we heard again from Burger that he didn't know the interactions, the operations and the mandate almost of the special branch. That wasn't part of his job description. He was a junior police officer at the time, and he only really realized 53 years after the Imam's passing, when he saw diagrams of the post-mortem and the autopsy, exactly what kind of injuries the Imam had when he was walking much slower and moving more sluggishly, as he described it in the witness stand. Today, with the political detainees that we will hear from, again, they will sketch a picture of the characters and the personas of the special branch who dealt directly with the political detainees being held in various police stations here in Cape Town. And this is part of a strategy to give us some insight into the actual hard reality that Imam Abdullah Haron himself endured for 123 days in detention back in 1969, Xoli.
Sure, that should be interesting indeed. Any idea, Natalie, as to who some of these political detainees are who are going to testify today? Are their names public at the moment?
Not at this stage, Xoli. We'll find out, in fact, as proceedings kick off a little after 10. We're not all too sure of who we will hear from. But if the past few days are anything to go by, these are elder members of the community who still, many of whom reside here in Cape Town, who've felt that it was a duty for them to come and participate in this reopened inquest, so that the hard facts and the truth essentially can be laid bare as to what happened to the Imam in 1969. For a very long time, his family said they were suspicious about the accounts and the circumstances around their father's passing, saying they didn't at all believe what the apartheid state had tried to feed them back in the days, that he had tripped and suffered a fatal fall, and that's how he died at Maitland Police Station. What we heard from two independent pathologists and an aeronautical engineer who could lay out the data as to what was possible and what wasn't possible. In fact, the Imam had sustained deep wounds, broken ribs and pains to his torso and legs and Achilles tendon, which points to the kind of torture and heavy-handedness that he suffered at the hands of the apartheid special branch, more of which we will hear during the course of today.
My colleague, that's Natalie Malgas, covering the inquest into the death of Imam Haron. Thank you very much.